world's most powerful billionaires built empires by outthinking, outmaneuvering, and outspeaking everyone. When interviewers pushed too hard, these moguls turned live moments into takedowns that still resonate. Here are 10 times billionaires made interviewers regret every question. Hit subscribe now so you never miss these unfiltered moments of billionaire defiance and wit. Number 10. Elon Musk and the Dealbook meltdown and the NPC incident. November 29, 2023, at the New York Times Dealbook Summit, host Andrew Ross Sorkin pressed Musk about the wave of advertisers who had abandoned X after Musk endorsed an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory post. Musk acknowledged the post was foolish. Then he pivoted and told the advertisers to go expletive themselves. Disney CEO Bob Iger was sitting in the audience. Musk called him out by name. He called the advertiser boycott an act of blackmail. Sorkin sat visibly stunned as Musk dismissed any suggestion that he should temper himself for business reasons. Then on May 20, 2025, at the Qatar Economic Forum, Bloomberg editor-at-large Michal Hussein pressed Musk on whether Doge would actually deliver its promised $2 trillion in government savings. Musk snapped back that she was, quote, trapped in the NPC dialogue tree of a traditional journalist, comparing her to a non-player character in a video game. When she followed up on South African land reform laws, Musk pointed at the camera and asked, "Why do you like racist laws?" The room erupted in nervous laughter. Hussein could not recover her line of questioning. Number 9. Larry Ellison and the Oracle God Complex. In the mid-1990s, Larry Ellison was already one of the most combative executives in Silicon Valley. In television profiles and interviews from the era, he repeatedly dismissed Microsoft as a company building inferior, architecturally outdated software. He predicted that network computing would eventually make the personal computer and its dominant software unnecessary. Reporters who cited Microsoft's enormous market share as proof of its staying power were brushed off with contempt. Ellison believed he was building the future and had no patience for anyone who disagreed. The Silicon Valley joke that circulated for decades said it all. What is the difference between God and Larry Ellison? God does not think he is Larry Ellison. Number 8. Steve Jobs and the 1997 WWDC developer takedown. May 13, 1997. Jobs had returned to Apple just months earlier, roughly 12 years after being ousted in 1985. He sat before a room of Apple developers, many of whom were angry and skeptical about his direction. During the Q&A, a hostile developer stood up and accused Jobs of not knowing what he was talking about regarding Apple Java strategy and the discontinuation of OpenDoc. He questioned Jobs' 7-year absence from the company. Jobs paused for a long moment. He took a sip of water. Then he responded with calm, unshakable authority. He acknowledged the developer raised a valid point, then pivoted to the larger strategic vision required to take Apple from near bankruptcy to a company that could sell billions of dollars in products. The developer had no follow-up. The clip has been viewed millions of times and remains a staple in leadership training. Number 7. Donald Trump and the small loan of $1 million. October 26, 2015. At an NBC Today Show town hall hosted by Matt Lauer, the moderator pressed Trump on his privileged upbringing and whether he could genuinely relate to working-class Americans. Trump fired back without hesitation, saying his father had given him a small loan of $1 million and that he had turned it into a multi-billion-dollar empire. The phrasing stunned the room. $1 million described as small. The quote became the defining viral soundbite of the early 2016 campaign, mocked relentlessly but never walked back. Trump owned the exchange entirely, turning a question designed to expose his privilege into a story about his own hustle. Number 6. Jeff Bezos and the Shatner Champagne Cutoff. October 13, 2021. Blue Origin's second crewed New Shepard spaceflight landed safely in the West Texas desert. On board was 90-year-old William Shatner, who became the oldest human ever to reach space, surpassing Wally Funk. As Shatner stepped out of the capsule, he was visibly overcome. He tried to describe the experience to Bezos, the vast black void of space, the thin ribbon of blue atmosphere clinging to the Earth, the overwhelming sense of Earth fragility and human smallness. Bezos listened for less than a minute. Then he turned to the crew and called for champagne, spraying the bottle over everyone and drowning out Shatner mid-thought. Commentators and late-night hosts piled on immediately, noting the jarring contrast between Shatner's philosophical reflection and Bezos' instinct to celebrate. Number 5. Mark Cuban and the CNBC Mavericks takedown. In 2003, during a CNBC interview, an anchor challenged Mark Cuban over his hands-on management style with the Dallas Mavericks, suggesting his involvement was hurting the team. Cuban pushed back immediately. He asked the anchor whether he had actually watched a Mavericks game recently. When the anchor hesitated, Cuban dismantled the premise of the question, citing specific stats, player development decisions, and front office strategy that the anchor clearly knew nothing about. Cuban had made his fortune selling Broadcast.com to Yahoo for $5.7 billion in stock in 1999, one of the largest internet acquisitions of the era. He did not tolerate uninformed criticism. The anchor had no meaningful response. Number 4. Mark Zuckerberg and the Senate hearing humiliation. April 10, 2018. 87 million Facebook users had their data harvested by the political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica without their knowledge. Zuckerberg was hauled before a joint session of the Senate Commerce and Judiciary Committees. Senators grandstanded, fumbled technical questions, and revealed how little they understood about the product they were meant to regulate. The moment that silenced the room came when 83-year-old Utah Senator Orrin Hatch asked how Facebook makes money if users do not pay for the service. Zuckerberg paused, allowed a slight smile, and replied, "Senator, we run ads." 5 words. The clip went viral within the hour. Whatever opinion viewers held of Zuckerberg, the composure was undeniable. Number 3. Richard Branson and the dropout who dismantled critics. Branson left Stowe School at 16. His headmaster reportedly told him on his way out that he would either end up in prison or become a millionaire. Branson built Virgin Group into a sprawling global conglomerate that has owned and launched more than 400 companies across music, airlines, telecoms, financial services, and spaceflight. For decades, interviewers asked the same tired question about how he had succeeded without formal education. Branson never got defensive. He smiled, cracked a joke, and pointed to the empire. He made the interviewers realize their question was based on an assumption the results had already disproved. Number 2. Bill Gates and the antitrust deposition. August 27, 1998, the United States Department of Justice had sued Microsoft for anti-competitive behavior, alleging the company had illegally bundled Internet Explorer with Windows to crush Netscape. Lead DOJ attorney David Boies, one of the most feared litigators in the country, conducted a videotaped deposition of Gates. What he got back was a wall. Gates quibbled over the meaning of ordinary words like compete, concerned, ask, and we. He gave one-word answers. He claimed not to remember emails he had written himself. He stared blankly at Boies and repeated that he did not understand the question. When portions of the deposition were played in Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson courtroom, the judge was seen visibly trying to suppress laughter at Gates' evasiveness. The deposition became famous, a portrait of the world's richest man daring the government to make anything stick. Number 1. Steve Jobs and the D8 Conference Focus Masterclass. June 1, 2010. Walt Mossberg and Kara Swisher brought Jobs onto the D8 All Things Digital conference stage for what was intended to be a critical grilling. They pressed him on Apple closed ecosystem, on the decision to block Adobe Flash from the iPhone, and on AT&T network performance. Jobs did not apologize for any of it. He explained quietly and with total confidence that Apple succeeded by focusing ruthlessly, by saying no to 1,000 things in order to perfect the few that mattered most. Mossberg and Swisher had prepared a confrontation. What they got was a philosophy lesson. They left having gained more insight into Apple's strategy than they had pressure tested. It was one of the last extended public interviews Jobs ever gave. He passed away 16 months later,